Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to part 5 of the Principles of Design series. So in this series we are looking at the 7 principles of design. I've already covered 4 of them in my older videos, so go check it out before watching this video. And yeah, let's get started. So what are these 7 principles? The first principle is the principle of balance, the principle of contrast, the principle of hierarchy, the principle of emphasis, scale and proportion, repetition, and unity. And I've already talked about balance, contrast, hierarchy, and emphasis in my older videos. I will link them in the description, go check it out. However, in today's video, we're going to talk about another principle, which is known as the principle of repetition. So let's see what principle of repetition is and what all it has to offer. So as the name suggests, when one or more design elements reoccur on a page or throughout the entire site or your app, that's where the principle of repetition comes in. When you design actually more complex or larger projects, you'll see a lot of these elements starts repeating again and again. And it might be a button, it might be color, typography, font, it could be an animation, it could be a branding element, it could be a logo. A lot of things starts repeating on different pages, and the collection of these repetition actually is what principle of repetition dictates. It says that once you have these repetitive elements, you can use these different elements to create familiarity and understanding for your product. Once users get accustomed to these repetitions, they will understand. It will create a predictability amongst them that okay, this sort of element does this on your product. So that's why the principle of repetition is needed. It just brings more familiarity and understanding for your designs. Now you might be thinking, okay, familiarity is okay, but why exactly it is needed? So familiarity actually generates a visually appealing end result, but that's not the only thing. It also creates user trust and establish the presence of a brand of the website or the app. So for example, if you see Amazon or if you see Twitch, right? Amazon uses this yellow accent colors everywhere, so you know that you are in Amazon app. Similarly, if you go and watch Twitch app, everything is purple colored. And they have used a very heavy, nice branding throughout the app. If you check out the Notion app, right, everything is sort of like monotone black color, black and white, and this retro sort of vibe. Even the illustrations are like just black and white, simple line illustrations. So all of this together creates establishes a brand, establishes your brand through design. And as a simple design tip, a lot of you might be working on design systems actually. And by the way, we have a design system series on our channel, so go check it out as well. So when building a design system, you should always keep the principle of repetition in mind. What it says that you should create something which is more cohesive, which is more predictable, which is more familiar. So whenever you are doing design system is nothing but a collection of all your repeatable elements, right? So whenever you're building a style guide, whenever you're building a design system, make sure that you keep track of color, font, logos, whatever is being used in your app, and make sure that these are used uniformly, cohesively throughout your app. And especially if you're working with large team, this principle comes in handy when you're building a design system. So that's the design tip for you. Now let's quickly see some examples. So let's first talk about the example of Pinterest. And Pinterest is one of my favorite apps. So this is one of their main home pages, and if you see, they always use this sort of like a card structure here. If you see all of this single card entity, they use it everywhere. These are called Mason grids, and it has the same structure on every page. Only the height of these cards change depending on the content, but the card overall look and feel always remains the same structure for these cards, and they use it throughout the app. So this is one part of the app. If you see, this is their boards page. Again, it has the same sort of card structure everywhere, similar structure, right? So they're using this card as a repeatable element, and they're following this principle of repetition here to bring more familiarity. Even without looking at, even if I hide this branding logo on top, right, you'll still be able to understand that this is a Pinterest app. So that's the power of repetition, and that's how they're establishing a brand using this design element. Similarly, if you see there, this is their edit page where you can add photographs. Again, they're using the same horizontal cards to bring that familiarity of this sort of design element across their product. So Pinterest is a really nice example on how you can bring like cohesiveness using just simple repetitive elements. And if you see, this spans across the app. These element is the home page, on the boards page, on the edit page, search page, everywhere you will find the same sort of vertical elements. Let's talk about the next example, which is Duolingo. And Duolingo is one of my favorite apps. If you see the overall theme of the app, it's like really fun, playful. But they only play with these sort of two colors, green and blue. So whenever you see this app, you will know that green and blue, that's sort of like a Duolingo colors theme. Also, if you see, notice this buttons, right? They use sort of something like a game sort of buttons, which have like a 3D shadow, very broad 3D shadow. Even if you see this slider, it's not a simple slider. It has a little bit of a 3D thing going on for it. So it looks a little bit 3D-ish, right? Similarly, if you see shadows, very hard shadows are used, which is like typically used in games. And if you see, even the illustrations are quite simple and like playful, kiddish. If you see even the icons, the use of icons, they are almost like similar sort of style. Here even the badges are like similar style. Buttons, as I said, right, they just use these green buttons everywhere and they almost look same. So all these nice 3D elements, this playfulness, the cards, the color, the buttons, all of this like game like structure makes Duolingo very different from any other standard app that you see. I think Duolingo is doing a really awesome job with their branding, and this is a very nice example of how repetition is used, how very simple element, if you use cohesively, if you repeat it all the time, users will just make up their mind. They will establish that, okay, this, even without the branding, they will understand that this is a Duolingo app. Even if you just show this one of the app screens to anyone, no, they will immediately understand that this is a Duolingo app. So that's the way Duolingo is doing. By the way, some notable examples could be Notion and Medium as well. They are also doing a phenomenal job with their branding. Very minimalistic, but immediately as you see their app, you'll know that it's Notion or it's Medium. So those are two other examples. So I hope you understood the principle of repetition. I hope you understood from this little small video that we did. This was clear as well. So just to quickly recap things, repetition means repetition of design elements across your product, and it could be font, text, color, animation, branding element, logo, you name it. What you have to do is just to make the repetition work is that wherever these elements repeat, make sure their behavior is predictable and you establish a cohesiveness across using these different elements. So that will establish the brand perception, that will establish predictability for your product. So that's what the principle of repetition says, and I hope you understood it. And if you have any doubt, just let me know in the comments. Stay tuned for the next video and I'll see you there. Take care. Bye-bye.